That mosquito plant everyone's putting next to their patio chair this summer? A 2019 review in Malaria Journal looked at 62 studies on plants like it. Not one of them tested a plant sitting in a pot like yours. There's a 30-second thing you're supposed to do to it that almost nobody does. And that's the one step research says actually makes it work. There's also a $20 thing sitting on your porch that does more for your evening than that plant does alone. We'll get to that. Quick heads up, we'll cover a safety check in a minute, so here's what's coming. Why that plant alone can't pull its weight. The real 30-second fix. The one number the tag leaves out. Where to set your pot so your knees stay out. And that $20 porch trick I promised you. Quick version. Crush a leaf, then rub the oil right where you're sitting. Patch test first if your skin's sensitive, and keep pets and kids from touching it. That's the switch, as simple as it sounds. Now here's why the plant needs that switch in the first place. Say you've had one of these plants on the porch for 2 summers running, and you're still slapping mosquitoes away every single evening. That's not bad luck. That's exactly what the research predicts. Here's the thing about a lemongrass or citronella plant. The oil that actually repels mosquitoes is locked inside the leaf. It doesn't just float out into your yard on its own. Nearly every extension service that's looked at this agrees on one point. A plant sitting quietly in a pot releases almost nothing into the air. And whatever little scent does escape gets scattered by the first breath of wind. The oil has to come out of the leaf before it does anything for you. Your neighbors with the same plant on their porch? They're probably making the exact same mistake. And here's a twist most folks don't know. That plant labeled mosquito plant or citronella plant at the garden center. A lot of the time, it's actually a scented geranium, a cousin of the rose geranium, with barely any real citronella oil in it at all. So check the plant tag for the actual name before you buy one expecting bug protection. One more thing first. The ASPCA lists lemongrass as toxic to dogs, cats, and horses. The whole plant, not just the oil. So keep pets away from it and wipe down the armrest before grandkids climb up and touch it. So here's the full version of that 30-second fix. Pinch a leaf. Crush it between your fingers until it's bruised and a little wet. And rub that oil onto your skin or right onto the arm of your chair. According to Clemson's extension service, lemongrass applied that way protects for about 40 minutes. Rosemary, by comparison, only lasts about 15. 40 minutes. That's roughly one relaxed evening on the porch, not an all-night guarantee. When it wears off, just crush another leaf and go again. No big deal. Don't panic, but here's a real safety note, especially for older skin. Skin gets thinner as we age. Research by dermatologist Gadiali and colleagues puts it at 15 to 25% thinner. And thinner skin absorbs things faster and reacts more easily. Test a small spot on your forearm first, then give it a few minutes. If your skin's fine, you're good to go. If you're on any skin medication, it's worth checking with your doctor first. That's it. 30 seconds and a decent chunk of the evening covered. One less thing to worry about. And that need to reapply isn't some flaw unique to your patio. Back in 1942, with malaria taking down whole units in the Pacific, the US Army rolled out a cartoon character named Anopheles, a pun on Anopheles, the malaria mosquito, just to get soldiers to actually use repellent. The record shows soldiers barely bothered, because the repellents of that era only lasted a few hours before needing to go back on. Even a wartime army with lives on the line couldn't shortcut it. There's no passive shield, there's only stuff you reapply. Now, where you put that pot actually matters. If it's down on the ground, you're bending over every time you want to use it. And that defeats the whole point of a low-effort fix. Try setting the pot up at the height of your chair's armrest instead. Reach over, crush a leaf, sit back down. That's it. No kneeling, no stretching. Lemongrass grows 2 to 4 feet tall and about 2 to 3 feet wide at full size, according to North Carolina State's extension program. So give it a big enough pot from the start. A lightweight potting mix means you can slide it into place instead of hauling it. And if you've already got your patio set up just the way you like it and you're not moving another single pot, stick around. The next part doesn't need you to plant anything new at all. Remember that $20 porch trick? It's a regular electric fan. Here's why it works. And here's the interesting part. It's the same basic idea we just talked about with the plant. Mosquitoes are chemical trackers. They don't find you by sight, they follow the trail of carbon dioxide you breathe out. A 2003 study in the Journal of Medical Entomology found that as wind speed goes up, the number of mosquitoes finding their target drops off sharply. The researchers were clear about why. It's not that the wind's too strong for them to fly in. It's that the wind scatters that carbon dioxide trail before it can ever reach them. That study tested marsh mosquitoes in Michigan, not the exact ones on your patio, but the same principle. Chemical trail over physical barrier holds up. Point a regular box fan across your seating area and you're pulling that same trick. No spray, no bending, no chemicals. Just moving air. And a basic box fan is about as dirt cheap as a real mosquito fix gets. $20, one time, instead of buying a new mosquito plant every single season. And now for the twist. Most folks never check under their own pots. If there's a saucer catching water underneath, that's worth emptying out. According to the University of Florida's Extension Service, it takes as little as 1 bottle cap of standing water for mosquitoes to lay eggs in. The very pot you set up to fight mosquitoes might be breeding them right underneath itself. A once-a-week habit of emptying that saucer closes the loop. 1 habit, 2 problems solved. And if you want to go one step further, something plant-based that's proven at real scale, look for oil of lemon eucalyptus, sometimes labeled PMD, on the ingredient list. It's registered with the EPA and shown to protect for up to 6 hours. That's different from the lemon eucalyptus oil sold at an essential oil counter. It helps to look for that EPA registration number right on the label and skip it for kids under 3. A few quick questions before we wrap up. First one. More pots, better coverage? Not really. There's still no research showing a planting of these covers a whole yard. Next, and this one matters. What about pets? Quick reminder, that's the whole plant on the ASPCA's toxic list, not just the oil. So keep the pot out of chewing range too, not just the crushed leaves. Last question, and it's the one we get most. Winter? A viewer in Minnesota asked us exactly this last year. Lemongrass only survives outdoors year-round in Zone 8B and warmer, Gulf Coast, Deep South, Coastal California. Everywhere else, it's best to bring the pot inside once temperatures start dropping and give it a sunny window. And yes, you can snip the stalks for tea. So let's bring it home. That plant isn't useless. It's just a container of oil waiting for a switch. The fan is your actual shield. And that saucer under your pot might be the real culprit. The proof's in the pudding. 1 crushed leaf, 1 fan, 1 emptied saucer. By this weekend, you could be sitting out there past dark, fan running, 1 crushed leaf on your armrest, and nobody's slapping at their ankles. If you're the kind of gardener who wants to know what actually works before you spend a dime on it, you belong here. Tell me what state you're in. and how bad the mosquitoes are getting this July. Grow smarter, save yourself the bites, and have a good evening out there. Happy gardening!